Everybody, it's Taylor with the Daily Again, and welcome back. We are at 30 subscribers and going strong. We are on our way to that 100 still. So please, if you're watching this video, hit the subscribe button, join the channel. We talk about real issues here. We talk about bills, legislation, concrete things that everyone can read at home and get the information for themselves, not just who said what and what's the hottest story now and what's the sexiest thing that's happening in the political atmosphere, if you can even call it that anymore. But we talk about real issues, bill numbers, concrete facts, actual things that are happening, and things that you can affect. So please join the channel. And with all that said, let's get into it. Today we are going to be talking about the political compass. And if you don't know what that is, it is a way of measuring political ideologies and kind of seeing them comparatively against each other on a spectrum. So there is two different axes, the north-south axis, which is the authoritarian versus libertarian axis, and then there's the east-west, which is the economic right versus the economic left. Economic right being complete capitalism, economic left being absolute communism. And if you don't know what authoritarian or libertarian means, authoritarian governments are basically a dictatorship, or a small group or one person has complete and total power over everything. And that is a king, dictators, like I said, small groups, and then libertarians would be the absolute opposite of that. The government has the absolute least amount of power that they can possibly have. Basically, they just provide a military. Now, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and Google political compass test, and you can actually take a test to put your ideologies on this graph, and you can see where they are relative to other ideologies like Gandhi or Hitler or basically anybody in history. There's a graph out there that will tell you where they lie on this graph. Now keep in mind, this is all relative. There is no absolute numbers on this graph to tell you where exactly you are. And it's also relative to the region. If you take a different population, their graph is going to look a little different. Their middle point will be in a different spot, liberal, conservative. It will be in a different area than maybe the United States. So keep in mind, it's all relative. If you get something super extreme, it just means you might have some extreme viewpoints relative to other people's viewpoints. They might not be absolutely extreme, but they are relative to other people's. Now, the original idea for this video came from me hearing a bunch of people use the terms Marxism, fascism, you're a fascist, you're a Marxist, whatever you want to call it. And I wanted to take time and actually show people where that lies on a political compass. And then you can look at where you lie relative to those. We can look at where we think the United States lies relative to those, and we can talk about it. So let's define Marxism and fascism and relate those to maybe, anarchy, the absolute opposite of both of those things. No government, no nothing. So this is what a political compass looks like with your authoritarian and libertarian axis, north-south, and your economic left and economic right, east-west. And this is where Marxism, fascism, and anarchy lie on the political compass. Marxism is all the way in the top left because they are authoritarian and economically left. That means they are the absolute of communism and they are the absolute of authoritarianism. They can control every aspect of your life economically and socially. So when someone calls you a Marxist, that is what they mean. Absolute conformity to what the government says. Fascism, on the other hand, which famously is associated with the Nazi Party because they were fascists, they have a dictator or central power and absolute central power socially. And they also have a bunch of power economically. So they kind of land in this middle area where it's a little bit more capitalistic than Marxism, but the absolute power is still with the dictator or whatever ruler you have. They can basically do whatever they want, say whatever they want. Could be a small group, could be one person. That's the kind of power you have with fascism. And anarchy is basically anything at the very bottom of this graph. Anything down here is no government whatsoever, no control, no conformity, no nothing. Anarcho-communism is an absolute oxymoron. You can't have control without any control, which is essentially what that means. You have anarchy and communism. And anarcho-capitalism is pure and utter anarchy. There's no rules, there's no nothing. It's the Wild West. I want to preface this next part because I pride myself on being absolutely objective, and I pride myself on showing you mostly, if not all, primary sources, not being the article warrior that says, well, I read this article that said, and really only read the title. I really like to show you guys primary sources, show you the bills of text, so that you know that something has actually been said by somebody with power like a senator or representative. But this next part of the video is going to be my opinions about the political compass and where the United States lies on that, and where I think the larger groups within the United States political structure lie on that. So just strap in. So this is my drawing of what I think the political compass for the United States looks like. This red box represents the majority, if not everybody, in the United States and their political ideologies. I think that we vary extremely left to right, but not so much up and down. I don't think anybody wants a dictator. I don't think anybody wants a king. I just don't think that that exists in the United States. And I don't think that anybody wants anarchy. I think that people like rules. People like people that drive within the lines on the highway. Nobody likes the guy that uses no blinkers and just swerves left and right. Everybody has a comment to say about that guy, and it's not good. So if you're that guy, stop it. So defining these groups a little bit more, the far left are people that I would think have socialist ideologies. And I'm not talking about a little bit, I'm talking about socially subsidizing everything. The government basically runs everything. That's colleges, that's healthcare, all that stuff. I would think be in this top left-hand bracket. That is a socialist society in America, not the hybrid that we have now, because government subsidies are good, they're necessary. That's what a government's supposed to do. They're supposed to make sure that things keep running and systems keep running. Understandable, but a complete socialist takeover. Not only that, but they also probably have ideologies like completely destroying and dismantling the police. That is a far left ideology I think is pretty extreme for right now. I think that a little bit more of a reform is needed. And then also things like complete gender and racial fluidity. You can choose what you want to be on any given day at any given time. Complete and total. I'm not talking about a little bit. I'm talking about absolute, to the point where you can abuse it and abuse the system. And so that everything is a problem, and so that everyone is everything all at the same time. That is an absolute that I'm talking about. Liberal viewpoints are probably the most centrist right now in the United States. I'm not saying that that is the best thing to be an absolute centrist, because no absolutes are good, let's be honest, but they probably are closer to the middle than anything. They're things like government subsidized healthcare, not necessarily a total takeover or absolute social medicine, but at least government subsidies, and also maybe reform to the police. They're a little bit more mild than the far left, which you would come to expect, seeing as we have moved on the graph to another section. This conservative bracket probably consists of most Christian values, things like no abortion. If you don't believe in abortion 100%, you're probably in this conservative area. Also the people that are supporting the Blue Lives Matter movement and have a little bit less of a problem with police officers, you're probably in this conservative area. Also people that generally like lower taxes and just about everything probably are also in this conservative area. And when we move to the far right, we're moving towards Trump supporters. And I hate to sound divisive, but that's kind of where he lies. He's got a lot of very far right ideologies. Absolutely no problems with the police. That is a very, very far right ideology. If you think that they are perfect in their form, that is 100% the far right. Another viewpoint of the far right is having problems with people being LGBTQ. If you still have problems with people trying to live their life and trying to be happy, then I think that is a problem with you. And that is a very far, far right and a very extreme viewpoint in my opinion. There you go, that's the political compass. It's a really good tool to look at how you fare and how your ideas stack up against other people's and where you lie on a spectrum, maybe with your friends, maybe with your country, maybe with whoever. You can apply it to the most macro of scales across countries, across the entire planet, or you can go down to the most micro of scales and apply it to just one issue. It's a very neat tool to look how people view certain things and see where they lie really graphically, and just see at a quick glance, this is where everybody thinks they are on this issue. That's all I have for you guys in this video. Thank you again for watching. I really appreciate it. Please remember to subscribe. We are on our way to 100. That's it, guys. Thanks.